それではお時間になりましたので、これより日本に
We'd like to start the session on custody ecosystem in Japan, how to set up a digital asset key management environment. We will have a panel discussion on this subject. Let us introduce the panelists. We have Professor Kiyotaka Sasaki, visiting professor at National Hitotsubashi University Graduate School of Business Administration. Could we have a round of applause for this panelist? Next, from Mitsubishi UFJ Trust and Banking Corporation, Inc., we have manager Mr. Tatsuya Saito. Next, we have co-founder and CEO of Ginko Inc., Mr. Muto Morikawa. From Fubi Japan Inc., we have CEO Mr. Chen Hai-Teng. Last but not least, we have the moderator, CTO of Japan Digital Design, Mr. Masanori Kusunoki. We'd like to give the floor to Mr. Kusunoki to moderate the session. Thank you very much. The custody ecosystem in Japan is the subject today. How to set up a digital asset key management environment going forward. We hope to have a discussion on this subject. We seek your kind cooperation. We would like to have everyone introduce themselves first. I'm from Japan Digital Design MUFG FinTech arm, and I'm FinTech arm, and I'm CTO. IFO TC307. Blockchain committee, domestic committee is one which I headed, and security management of digital asset custodian was a technical report project which we engaged in. Professor Shinichiro Matsuo played a central role in this, and to support this on the domestic scene, cryptoasset governance task force was created. There was a coin check incident in 2018, and this triggered people to think about how we can make our custody chain safer. So we'd like to have everyone introduce themselves and your relationship with the subject of custody. So perhaps we could have you introduce yourselves in turn. In what order? In the order of seating? Shall we do it that way? Good afternoon. I'm CEO of Fubi Japan. My name is Chen Hai-Teng. The group in 2013 was founded, and it's a top-class crypto asset company. And we were a top digital service financial provider, over 200 or in 130 countries. We have users amounting to 10 million. A safe and reliable crypto asset transaction is what we provide. A blockchain-related R&D, incubation, fund origination. Crypto asset is the main area in which we create ecosystem. Fubi Japan is a Fubi Group's subsidiary. Crypto asset exchange is our main business going forward. A regional currency STO. In other areas, we hope to develop business. Fubi was listed in June of this year. Originally, I'm from a Chinese large company, and 3 years ago I entered this industry, and in order to achieve success here in Japan, I wish to cooperate with everyone. Moving over to the right. I'm Tatsuya Saito from Mitsubishi UFJ Trust and Banking. I don't know which direction I should be looking at. Digital asset custody. is what I'm talking about. We're a trust bank. So in the financial market, legacy side, I would like to talk about the subject from that perspective. And when I do that, the point I wish to make today is that in the digital asset area, the trust system and the merits of this system and the efficacy of this system is what I'd like to explain about. Trust has different aspects to it. In the financial market, the major benefits, I think, can be summarized into 2 points. Firstly, trust asset to isolate bankruptcy here. Digital assets, we have digital assets which are managed, and if the situation deteriorates, the custom of that entity, the customer's assets will be preserved. That's the legal structure, and I believe this is the benefit that we can provide. And the other is in the area of asset management, the economy of scale. The trust assets is about 1,200 trillion, and we do deal in this large value, so security and operational risk. We have to cover all of this, regardless of the value. This is something that is a must. This is a fixed function that we have to ensure. The market, I believe, will grow in the future, but there's fixed expenses, which is a burden on the operators. So from such a perspective, I believe that trust banks can be a useful existence. Thank you very much. Hello. I'm a visiting professor at the Hitotsubashi University Graduate School of Business Administration. Last year in April, I retired as the Director General of FSA. And we've done inspections and inspections of auditing entities. And crypto assets and cryptocurrency is what I was responsible for inspecting. And as I shall be going into later on, there have been various leakage incidents, theft of cryptocurrency, and so the settlement law, or the FIEA, was revised, and I have been responsible for changes in this institution. Custody is the theme today. How to take custody or crypto assets and make that safe, and the institutional framework and the system measures that need to be taken. These are things I wish to discuss. Hello, my name is Morikawa from Ginkgo. The company was established in 2017. Initially, we provided wallet application of cryptocurrency, and after that, the crypto asset exchange operators, we have provided the services as well. And we've expanded our field because of changes in law and NFT, ledger asset, and there have been different products which have emerged. So we support management of these assets. A custody ecosystem is the subject today. Blockchain and the healthy growth thereof, and as for creation of new business. Digital asset management is very basic. So there are technical issues and there are administrative costs and operations. How to make for efficiency, and there needs to be an industry-wide effort to achieve this efficiency. I hope to discuss this point. I'd like to ask Professor Sasaki, first of all, people know what the exchange business is, but perhaps there are many who don't really understand what custody is about. 2 years ago, there was a coin check incident, and the settlement law and the FIEA, Financial Instruments Exchange Act, was revised. And institutional revisions, reform was made. What is the backdrop to this and the role of custody? Perhaps you can address this. As mentioned earlier, I retired from FSA last year, and in the 2 years before that, I was responsible for inspection of cryptocurrency-related operations. The Settlement Act was revised, and crypto asset businesses were recognized, and I was responsible for inspection at this time. And Bitcoins is about 1.2 million. It was about 100,000 at the moment. 2007 in December in Japan was 2.1 million, and the crypto assets where cybersecurity was weak was leaked, and it was stolen. And at this time, a separated management of customer assets was a point which was being made, but through these breaches, what happened, what was realized was that there was a lot of amount of cryptocurrency in hot wallets which were targeted, but internal management as a whole with regard to cryptocurrency businesses were a problem. So point breach led to the revision of the settlement law and so forth. How to protect the customers? The settlement law has detailed provisions, but FSA emphasizes convenience for the customers and safety for the customers, and how to ensure that, how to strike a balance between the two is what they're concerned with. Unfortunately, at the time, a customer's assets safety was not given due consideration, and the requirements, existing requirements, were not sufficient. So laws were revised. And as the trust bank representative mentioned, trust banks and other entities should try to protect customers' assets better. And the framework was provided for through the revision of law to ensure the safety of customers' assets. There is a major development taking place in this area. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So such a major amendment of the law has been put in place, and I am sure that various initiatives started on the part of the business operators. May I invite Chin-san, perhaps? Against the backdrop of a big environmental change, what have you been doing as a company? Well, when it comes to individual management, the assets that are entrusted from our customers, from individuals and companies, are separated. They are separated by individuals, and the fiat currencies are entrusted at the trust banks in Japan, and the coins from the individual customers, they were kept in hot wallets in the past, but now they're kept under cold wallet these days. Cold wallet is cold and safe because it's not connected to the internet. That's how we manage. Thank you. So with the amendment of the Payment Services Act, the Settlement Act, not only the exchange operators, but inclusive of custodies that are not involved in exchange are covered under the law. Maybe I can call upon Mr. Morikawa to comment on this. Yes, and outside of the exchange operators, there are people who are covered under this regulation. And one example is a company called Value. Issues tokens on Bitcoin, and that could be regarded as custody. And so operators who are not conducting exchanges but handle crypto assets have been covered by this law, have to comply to the law, and therefore there has been many players who decided to exit from this industry. But cold wallet is now the common way to manage crypto assets, and which involve a lot of cost, and therefore making it difficult to maintain the business. And that, I think, has led to the exits from this industry. Oh, thank you very much for that. From the perspective of taking custody of customers' assets, the role of trust banks in the existing banking field there are commonalities. I want to ask Saito-san, you have been in this business traditionally of managing customers' assets. How do you view management of crypto assets? Thank you for your question. The assets that we've been managing traditionally and digital assets, what is the difference? The difference is that once it moves, they will not be able to regain it, get it back. Assets that were held under management by banks, even if there is a wrong record of it, that error could be amended, and therefore lost asset can be recaptured. For 2017, we have been thinking of introducing this, and the biggest risk that we had identified is that with a hole in the security, if the system was compromised, or as a result of operational error, if the asset was sent to a wrong destination, once it moves, it involves commissions and fees, and therefore getting those assets back is almost impossible. From our perspective of managing customers' assets, we need to have the right management in place for the risk. And risk, therefore, the nature of risk is different. And as a result, for example, banks would have double check functions, and the bankers will use markers and check whether the bank account is correct. But if the same process is taken in the digital field, the potential that the digital field has will be disrupted, and therefore we need to be able to think of a different way. In the case of Ginkgo, for example, with blockchain-related technology, there are many players out there, and we are in a position to leverage those technical capabilities so that we can divide the roles and responsibilities in the industry. Once the asset moves, it's very difficult to get it back. I see. That is a big difference between traditional or legacy and digital asset. After CoinCheck incident, there's been a lot of rules in place, and Bitpoint was another incident that we experienced about a year and a half ago. The price or the value of crypto assets have risen, have gone up, but maybe there could be some incidents that we are not aware of. Although I'm happy to say that we are seeing less number of incidents in this field. But Morikawa-san and Shin-san, I want to ask this question from your perspective as a business operator for the past year or so. How do you view the background to not having major incidents in this sphere? As is already mentioned, the change in guideline and change in or amendment in the laws, I think, had a very important role to play. And the fact that the people have shifted to cold wallet is also another factor. Major incidents in the past was caused by keeping assets in hot wallet. But in order to be able to be flexible in addressing the needs of individual, it was easier to keep the assets in hot wallet. But we can keep assets to run the business in hot wallet, but that could be subject or target of hacking from the outside. And the more we shift to cold wallet, and of course administrative punishment and so forth has been in place. But most of the companies, I think, have moved their assets to cold wallet. I think that is a very important point. But cold wallet is not connected to the internet, and so it's like a security room, and the secret key is managed in an isolated location. And operational cost has increased because we need to move those assets in and out when needed. Thank you for that. Mr. Chin, how about you? Well, one thing I can say is the place of where asset is stored. Before it was in the hot wallet, and it's like a treasury box. In the case of a normal, that's a cold wallet, but a hot wallet is like at the counter in a bank. 140% or more has to be kept under the capital adequacy regulation, and that could lead to companies requiring a certain level of capital adequacy. And JVCA, under JVCA's management, the responsibility level of the industry has increased, and initiatives led by companies have also changed over time.
The incidents have declined, but in lieu of that, participation bar is higher, and regulation has become heavier. So there are different things emerging. So inclusive of all of this, the key management environment has to be sorted out. And in improving this new type of crypto assets, peripheral services, these are something that we have to think about. And looking back, 2018, right before the CoinCheck incident, we had a large amount of snow, and people were working from home, and there was much talk about this. Now again, with the COVID-19, the environment is undergoing major changes. So we'd like to ask Professor Sasaki, this environment surrounding key management. It's not that if we don't have incidents, we have nothing to do. I'm sure there'll be different challenges emerging. So what do you think about these challenges? This is a very difficult and important question. Crypto assets, cryptocurrency, I was responsible for inspection, and the fund settlement law and the FIEA, the traditional laws were applied. But cryptocurrency and crypto assets in other areas, in the area of innovation, there are things that don't fit into the existing laws. So the traditional approach was about using existing laws and how to apply existing laws. But going forward, in particular in the field of finance and in other areas, when the business model where you deal with new things that are emerging through existing laws, this model will no longer do. So the option is to create new laws. That is an option. But to new things that emerge, the government, is it good for government to regulate this based on hard law? We need to think about that. Recently, METI published Society 5.0 governance and the way it ought to be. The conference itself is premised on blockchain and what to do about governance. Blockchain is a distributed society, and in the new Society 5.0 and other societies, how do we give order to innovation? Of course, there's a role that governments need to play, but the government regulation is the same everywhere. The Diet, the Parliament approves the laws, and the laws are implemented, so they're behind the curve. And so what to do about this is a challenge. Society 5.0 and its governance report has come out. The government's hard law is important, but the annual sharing of codes or private sector's voluntary regulation, we have to leverage that. Otherwise, it's hard to maintain order without impeding innovation. Crypto keys are very important, but it's not just an issue of keys. It's not the issue of just cryptocurrency. In the new area, what do we do about governance is what I'd like to suggest as a subject. Mr. Saito, you've dealt with different crypto assets. As a financial entity, you have to be responsible. On the other hand, innovation is something that you want to bring about, and you have been struggling to make two things compatible. So from such a standpoint, regarding the challenge that has been mentioned, what is the role of the custody? Do you have anything in mind? On the present topic, what I think is important is that rather than how to deal with the regulation, what is the ideal? What is the way things ought to be? And you have to start there and work back from there. The private sector is important, and the regulator and those who make the regulation are important, and they need to take this view. In this area, I have been engaged in work for the past 2 to 3 years, and that is what I think about. In 2017, it's now called crypto assets, but it was called cryptocurrency then. And when we tried to deal with it as a trust business, in terms of regulation, what was the greatest challenge was the property nature of the cryptocurrency, and that was much talked about. What is with cryptocurrency? Is it a property or is it a security? There was a lot of views expressed on this topic, and whether there's a property characteristic that determines whether this will be a target for business. And so the cryptocurrency, can it be dealt with as a trust property? We spent about 2 years discussing this, and during this time, incidents occurred, and the market has changed. To state my conclusion, through the revision of the laws this time, the property characteristic of the cryptocurrency or asset was recognized after having gone through 2 years of discussion. This is a specific example. As a result of dealing with things in alignment with the regulation, things went awry. And that's an example. When we talk about digital assets, there's digital assets and the security token. These are things that exist, and through the revision of the FIEA, things have become clear as to how to manage this. But if you look closely, there's a cold wallet, which is cited as a specific example. But if you read closely, other technology and safety management measures are also allowed and permitted. So in a certain sense, it's left up to the interpretation of the reader, and that's clearly stated in the law, and that's a big factor. When the revision came out, there was a public comment process, and the market reaction was security token, cold wallet management. There were some questions about that, but they repeated discussions with the regulator, and it's not necessarily that they see it that way. Strictly on a risk basis, if management is proper, it doesn't have to be a cold wallet, and that was not the decision which was made. So the private sector side felt that this security token has this amount of risk. And what I mentioned, once it starts moving, there's no turning back anymore. In the public chain, it's different from the crypto asset in the public chain. If we can explain that well, we can manage it without undermining convenience. And this can be recognized as such. On the private sector side, the very nuanced areas of the laws we try to interpret. So we try to be accountable. And when we are accountable, the way it ought to be is that we need to think about the division of roles. And I think that is what is being asked of us. Thank you very much. So division of roles. You have to think about the division of role, and at the same time, you want to accelerate innovation and also to create and nurture the ecosystem. The custody people and the exchange people who shoulder all of this, what do you think will be important going forward? Could I ask you to speak, Mr. Chin? Security and crypto assets, what is most important is security, and a high level of technology should be used to protect the customer's assets. That's important. Morikawa-san, how about you? Security is a major premise. It's a given. Security and usability, to make these two compatible is the point. And as Mr. Sasaki said, the existing financial institutions, including operations, Well, if the financial institution standard will be called for, whether checks had to be made looking documents, the security token and crypto assets, and the risk could differ, and the operation would differ depending on which. And the security and usability need to be compatible for both. And the private sector should create something which fits the different assets and currencies. And it's important that we create these schemes. So security and usability to make this compatible in pushing forward innovation. Do you think the only way to go about doing this is the private sector to take the initiative? And you have to explain that you can protect the customer's assets. And so it's the private sector that has to do this. Is that right? Yes. The cold wallet seems to be one answer, but technology advances every day, and little by little things change. And I believe that the private sector must create this, and we have to accumulate our efforts. We're running out of time, and this might be the last question. Mr. Sasaki, could we hear from you? Oh, Professor Sasaki, could we hear from you? Crypto assets to protect this is important, but at the same time, going forward, what will the crypto assets do in society? In its relation to the society, it becomes important as to what it can do, what role it will play. What are your thoughts on this? Yes, thank you. What I mentioned before, coin check breach occurred, and that was 2018, end of January. At the time, the Diet Budget Committee was meeting, and at the Diet Committee, I was repeatedly asked to explain, and I was listening to the Diet discussion, the Parliament discussions, and I was compelled that many said that asked whether current cryptocurrency was useful to the society. FSA is responsible, and including myself, FSA had economical and physical spent costs to work on this. And is it worth it to manage and supervise expending that much cost? That was the question raised. And as you know, cryptocurrency was incorporated as an asset for settlement, and for remittance, low cost and efficient means. It would be regulated as such, but the reality was very different, and the discussion at the time, as well as what is happening under the COVID-19 crisis, is the same. The vision is being questioned, including the fintech in the area of innovation. I've talked to many people, and I feel it's strange that, well, I've been a bureaucrat for a long time, so I tend to ask what it's useful for, and what does it resolve in society. The major significance and principle is what I think is important. Without a link to this, it's true with regard to the existing financial business, it's not viable unless it fulfills these major purposes. In whether in medicine or financial sector, is the cryptocurrency, crypto assets, will they be useful? Will they solve problems? There may be areas where they can prove to be helpful. But what are we doing all of this for? The mission and the values and which emerges from this is important. And afterwards, you discuss the importance of the keys and the other means. It's putting the cart before the horse. If you discuss the tool first and then discuss the mission, the people on the ground, rather than the people on the ground, the business managers at the top should be thinking about this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Saito-san, how about you? I'm exactly on the same page. And should I say virtual currency back then? Now it's crypto asset, but it is managed under the Payment Services Act, and it's unlike being covered by the FIEL, and that's how it is structured, and that's why there is a big discrepancy between what is ideal and what is reality. And we're in a digital era, and payment method, digital payment method should be acknowledged, but what we see today is things like PayPay or Rakuten Pay. That kind of e-money seems to be the main choice of a payment, and the expectations towards crypto asset is something that I think we need to address, and I think there is more that we can work about this. And there must be a cause, a reason why there is a discrepancy between what is ideal and what is the reality. And from the ideal perspective, my hypothesis is that if there are two axes, one is centralized and the other is decentralized, and whether management of the system is centralized or decentralized. And if we have a matrix of that, what the decentralized and distributed system is what was expected on the part of cryptid asset. But the rights, the authorization might be decentralized, but as a system, rather than a distributed, it's more shifting more towards a centralized system through exchanges. That, I think, is the reality. And in order to address the very strict regulations, the capital adequacy needs to be met and security has to be provided. Each business operators have to make huge investments, and this investment is being made as a society, and that is leading to the increased cost as an industry. So in light of the ideal that I spoke about earlier, are we going to maintain the current maintenance situation, or are we going to approach closer to the division of labor that is more ideal? That the latter is the path that I would like to see. Thank you. In China, for example, blockchain is beginning to be used across different communities in the society. Mr. Chin, if you could enlighten us as to what blockchain or crypto assets could realize, please let us know. In China, it's a national strategy to adopt crypto asset. And what I want to talk about is that crypto asset and virtual currency, nothing bad about it. It's like the internet in the past. There were frauds on the internet, and there are bad people who are using crypto assets. It's not the technology to be blamed. In the next 5 years or 10 years, the digital wallet is going to be more advanced. Like we've seen the investments with internet, digital assets is going to change over time. It's going to become a much more convenient society. We are a non-Japanese player operating in Japan, and we want to collaborate technically with Japanese companies. Thank you very much. Morikawa-san, before closing, in custody, if there's anything that you want to realize in the crypto asset sphere, it's a question of why we have digital assets for. Bitcoin, almost like sending emails, being able to send money or money-like things, that's how digital money was realized. But now we have regulations and willingness to avoid a risk and mitigate risk, and that's requiring us to go through a whole chain of seals to certify, to permit the money transfer. It's like the last 1 mile that we need to really establish together as an industry. And we, as an operator with strengths in this field, we want to play our own role to be able to deliver financial services to individuals that are convenient to the user. Thank you very much. I have been listening to this conversation, and this session was how to ensure the safety of custody. And in relation with the society, we have to think of the social implementation as an integral part of this. We have a mission to be done, and we should be thinking of the right level of security in order to deliver that purpose. That should not be mistaken. Crypto asset has been created and now it's accepted by the society to an extent to be able to deliver services that are needed in the society and be able to protect the users in the future. I think we need to remind ourselves of that need. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much to the speakers on stage. Please join me in another big round of applause to the speakers.